Oh, I can't wait to hear next month's. So, living out loud, our last Sunday. I'm going to go to one of the lyrics in the song, and it's this: every day I have the choice to speak or not to speak. Do you feel that you have that choice? Every day I have the choice to speak or not to speak, to show up or not to show up, to think right thoughts or to think other thoughts. Every day I have that choice. So this week I suggested, this holiday season, this Thanksgiving, I suggested that you take the week and just think about, harvest everything that's come up this year. All the themes, everything that we've thought about this year, as Thanksgiving is, as we celebrate the harvest, and we go back and look at it. So I did what I said. Those of you who are on Facebook, you know that I went and I have a tree. I have my own tree. It belongs to the city, but it's my tree. It is up in Runyon Canyon, and I went up to it on Thanksgiving morning, and I got up and I went to the tree. And when I got to the tree, it was inhabited with about 20 people, which really was not my plan. I thought that tree sat there in a wait for me at all times. But I saw them and I went, well, that's sweet. Yeah, that was my first thought. That's sweet. That was my second thought. My first thought was something I can't say. But second thought was, look at these people. They were having a picnic. They just were so loving this tree. And this tree grows out of the ground. No, really? It comes up out of the ground, but then it breaks into all these different branches, and how the bottom trunk falls, it gives you a seat to sit in it. And let all the branches just surround you and hold you in it. So these kids were on the branches, and the mom was on my seat, and the father was like sitting there playing the guitar. I was like, wow, that is amazing. So I thought, you know what? I'll just walk around the top of this mountain for a minute and find another place to sit. And I did. And I sat. And I sent out emails to people that were saying Happy Thanksgiving. And I knew I wanted to reflect on the year, but I just didn't feel like I was in my spot. So I just got up and I thought, you know what, I'll just walk down the mountain and find another spot. And I got up and I turned the corner and the tree was empty. They had finished their picnic and left. And so I sat down, right in the middle of the tree, with all that energy that they had put in there. And I could feel all the love that tree had going on with it at that moment. So I sat there for about 20 minutes, half an hour, and I really did have a beautiful, beautiful reflective time on what the year was about. Kevin was in Texas. My children were with their moms cooking their Thanksgiving dinner. And as I sat there, I got very emotional and very full, and I felt like I was part of that tree. Karen talked about oneness. I felt like I had gone into the tree and been part of the tree. Now, before you all start going on Facebook and say, Reverend James talks to trees, I don't talk to trees like, hello, tree, and the tree answers me back. That would be a little crazy. But I do feel and hear energy, and I feel and I hear what I need to hear. So I got up to leave. And as I got up to leave, I had my hand on the trunk, and I literally heard from the bottom of my being, don't leave. Almost like one of those trees in Lord of the Rings that just start talking, don't leave. There's more to know. And I was like, okay, I won't leave. It's not time to leave yet. So I stayed. And I sat back down. And I was there for about an hour and a half. And as I sat there and I was just thinking and hearing and listening and loving and being loved, this thing came to me, and so I wrote it down. And it was this: beyond the questions, beyond the answers, beyond the obstacles, beyond the pathways even, there is. There is. There is. And that's all I heard. There is. And I instantly knew that my talk title this week was going to be, There Is. And I just have to, oh, thank you, Karen. That's so sweet. Thank you. So, I knew my talk title was going to be There Is. And there's a lot that happened this week. One of the lyrics in Karen's song is, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way in the song she sings. From the little boy, the little girl who realizes that there's got to be a better way than just feeling like the world is shrinking her, and the little boy who thinks there's got to be a better way than just feeling like I can't compete, I can't succeed. And of course, the little girl grows up to Karen Mitchell, and the little boy grows up to me. And we do know that there is a better way. And that better way really is allowing ourselves to fall into the feelings and the emotions of there is. There is. I don't even need to know the better way. I just need to know there is. I don't even need to know the answer to the questions that come up for me. I just need to know there is. Not even there is an answer. No, there is. This oneness, this feeling that we can have when we take the time to literally feel it. So the question came up for me this week. So it's the last week of Living Out Loud, right? So the question came up for me this week, how do we deal with real things? So Karen so eloquently touched on it. How do we deal with real things? Monday night in practitioner class, the question was brought forth to me, how do you feel about what's happening in Ferguson? And I kind of just sat. I didn't really have an answer. There was no answer for me to have. And I'm not going to share what I went into in depth with my practitioner students, but I had also been sent a video from a young man in Uganda who watches and pays attention to centers in the United States and trying to get new thought from a young man in Uganda. And he sent me this video, and it was such an abusive video that it has disturbed me all week. I mean, showing the abuse that goes on. And then I met with someone who told me an equally disturbing story of someone who had very early in her life ended her life. So the week has been a very full week of asking myself, how do I stay where I need to stay and yet honor the real things that are going on in the world? And I know many ministers this week are going to talk from their podiums and their stages about Ferguson. But Ferguson is not the important part for me. Neither is Uganda, neither is anything else. And then last night, I was hit with something else, a personal tragedy in someone's life that I will be a part of today, that shook my world. And as it did shake my world, I had to ask myself, do you believe what you believe? There is. Beyond the questions, beyond the answers, beyond any of the relative facts of your or my life, there is truth. And the answer was yes, I absolutely do. So, how do we deal with a world full of atrocities? How do we live in a world that has these things going on? And not, as Karen said, when Ernest Holmes said, turn away from the conditions, he didn't mean pretend they're not there. He did not mean Ferguson is an illusion. Turn away from it, it'll work itself out. That's denial. What Ernest Holmes meant was, when you see what's going on in the world, know the truth about it, through it, into it, lean into it. Living out loud requires us to see what's going on in our lives and then lean into it from truth. Now, is truth always the first thought we have? If my tree is any indication, no. No, truth may not be my first thought, but I'll tell you this, it's my second. And that's the best I can do sometimes. That the truth is the second thought. The first thought may be my emotion, may be my reaction, may be anything, but the second thought for me is always the truth. And sometimes, and most times, they come together instantly. I'm not disassociating myself from the world. I see the news. I know what's going on in Ferguson, in Uganda, in people's personal lives. I know what's going on. I don't turn away from those things. I allow them in because I have a mind and a consciousness, and so do you, that when you allow them in, you can be part of the healing of them. You can be the part of transforming them. And I don't mean transforming a political system that may be wrong. I don't mean transforming a verdict into a verdict you're more comfortable with. I don't mean blaming someone because they should be blamed according to who? Do we believe and trust and know that the world is based on a cause and effect system of truth, and that no one can ever escape the ramifications of what they have done? Ever. And it's not my job to go make that happen. I can speak up and say what I know, but it better be from a very spiritual place. Because if it's not, I'm just part of the problem. And that's true in all areas of life, in our own areas of life. Do you want to be part of what's going on in your world that doesn't work out from a place of the relative, meaning from that place where it's going awry? Or do you want to be part of what's going on in your life from a place of knowing exactly what to do with it? And you may not even know, but there is. Do y'all get that? So, how do we deal with life when it's suddenly happening to us personally? How do we deal with life when it's suddenly happening to us personally? You know, living out loud is not just a personal experience. Living out loud is happening all over the place. Have you noticed that? Life lives out loud too. And life lived out loud in Ferguson. And life is living out loud in Uganda. It's living out loud in personal lives. It's just living out loud all over the place. Anybody else? Y'all have some living out loud going on in your life? That's still life living out loud. Your opportunity, your choice is to live louder. When it lives out loud, you get louder with the truth. Living out loud looks like a lot of different things. For some of us, when life starts to live out loud, we retreat. Do you ever find that? Life lives out loud, and I retreat. I get afraid. I'm scared. I diminish. Life living out loud seems stronger than I am. It's more powerful. For some, living out loud, when life lives out loud, we run away. We turn away. But Ernest Holmes said, turn away from all conditions in treatment. In treatment. Now the difference there is, I see you, I see what's going on. And now I'm going to know the truth about this, because there's only love. As Lisa Johnson so brilliantly quoted this morning in meditation, as Gandhi said, where there is love, there is life. Love only. This week brought that forth in my life so clearly. Love only. Only. Love the officer. Love the family of the deceased. Love, and I won't use the word victim. Love the boy who made his transition. Love only. Love it all, and get involved in the loving part of it. And sometimes love looks like walking in a quiet march, a peaceful march. I'm not suggesting that we don't speak our words and say what we believe. I'm not saying that. That's how change happens. But I am saying we have to learn how to say those things and speak our voice from a place of love. Not a place of reaction, not a place of anger. And yet, sometimes loud, living out loud, sometimes loud can be voices of anger. That's loud. We just have to get a little louder. We have to honor the loud voices of anger as still part of love, but we have to get louder and speak our voice from love, from a higher consciousness of love. Don't let anyone or anything get in the way of you living life out loud. Don't let anything stop you from living out loud. You know, sometimes loud can be cries of pain. Sometimes loud can be voices of uncertainty. Sometimes loud can be people who are afraid. And sometimes loud can be an emotion so full that you just don't know what to do with it. But in the end, there is. So it doesn't matter. In the end, if you can lean into the there is, if you can lean into the love, lean into that place where everything is not only answered, but it's where it came from in the first place, then we start to be the change we wish to see in the world. We don't try to make change happen. We become the change itself. That's what this week, this whole year has been like for me. The harvesting of a reality and a living this science in such a way that I am now that which I have studied. I am now that which I teach. I am now not that which I speak. I walk it. I live it. And if I don't live it in the first second, I live it in the second. And then I don't beat myself up for that first second. And I have to tell you, there are going to be those who are crying and who are upset and angry. And all we can do in those moments is hold their hand and let them be. Let them be. Don't join it. Don't join the energy. Bring the love. Douse it with love. But let them be. Let them be angry. Let them be emotional. Let them be sad. We don't have to retreat to be able to remember. We don't have to retreat to be able to remember. Because beyond the questions, beyond the answers, beyond the obstacles, beyond the pathways even, there is. There is. There is. So I'm here today, and I had a choice whether to come today or not. I did. I have many ministers here that could have easily taken my place. And I did contemplate it because of something that I am in the middle of. And I did contemplate it. But I am at choice. But sometimes something chooses you, and you say yes to it. So I said yes to coming in here today and speaking because I get it. I get it. Life is happening out loud all over the place. And you and I, we're the ones who are willing to hear the loudness of the universe and speak our voices even higher, to live from truth as truth, to come from love as love, to love only, forgive everything, and at all times remember who we are. Namaste. Thank you.